So moving along, our next storyteller on the list is Mathew Perdue.
Oh boy, what have I done? A dramatic question considering the circumstances, but it's one that I seem to ask myself quite a lot. Even right now as I stand here before you, I wonder why I have put myself in this situation. My heart is beating out of my chest. My lungs can't seem to hold any air. My nerves are on fire. Everything in me is telling me to run out that door to where I feel safe. But why am I afraid? But that's what tonight's stories are about, right? How do we react in the face of fear? My social anxiety has pushed me to become a reclusive introvert with an awkward personality. For years, I have been carefully constructing the walls of my comfort zone so I can avoid the unpleasant sensations that come from connecting with the unfamiliar. To step outside of the boundary, even for something simple, often causes me to question my actions and to ruminate over the consequences, sometimes to such an extent that almost every decision I make in life is riddled with second guesses and regret. This way of life is a little lonely and depressing sometimes, but I enjoy my own company, and I've learned to pursue endeavors that don't involve pushing myself beyond my social limitations. One such activity I enjoy is hiking. I have an affinity for nature, and I find that when I am out on a trail or up a mountain, my troubles seem diminished and my mind is temporarily free from its constraints. In all my years of exploring the great outdoors, I've come across various forms of wildlife, but my favorites have always been the bear, the moose, the badger, the fox, the solitary creatures that keep to themselves and don't require constant social bonding in order to feel secure. Luckily, all of these encounters have been from a distance, but there was one occasion where I came face to face with an animal that I had hoped never to cross paths with. I had just moved to Arizona, and I was beating myself up so badly over this decision. I knew I had to break free, or else I would end up spiraling down into the void of self-loathing that often accompanies my periods of regret. I decided to head to the southeastern corner of the state to hike up a mountain called Miller Peak, which is situated in a wilderness area not far from the town of Sierra Vista. I hadn't anticipated for it to be an early morning adventure, but at the campsite I found that I could barely sleep, and I got this idea that experiencing the sunrise from the top of the mountain might be a symbolic way to welcome myself to this new chapter. It was barely 4 a.m. in the month of November, but with eagerness and mild hesitation, I got dressed, packed up my hiking gear, turned on my headlamp, and headed into the unknown. I had never done a sunrise hike before, so I wasn't sure what to expect, but one thing I discovered is that the depth of the silence and the darkness is unsettling, but at the same time, strangely beautiful. There were several moments in the early part of my trek where I even stopped walking, turned off my headlamp, held my breath, and experienced that mysterious veil of nothingness. For the rest of the ascent, the only sound that I could hear was the crunch of my footsteps against the dirt, and the only sight I could see beyond the glow of my headlamp was a crescent moon hanging low in the sky, surrounded by stars. My awareness was heightened in this unfamiliar environment, and especially since I was on my own, and I'd be lying if I said I wasn't afraid. What have I done? I pondered to myself as I made my way up toward the summit on the path. This is way beyond my comfort zone. I don't feel safe. I need to turn around. I can always come back when I'm more prepared. But I didn't listen to the logic, and I kept going with doubt and fear gnawing at my thoughts. Eventually, I made it to a point on the trail where the ground sloped down to the left and up to the right amid a landscape of tall grass and shrubs. The silence here was pervasive, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was no longer alone. I moved forward with caution, my senses on high alert, when all of a sudden I heard the slightest rustle of grass up the hill to my right. I turned slowly and looked up in the direction that the sound had come from. In the beam of light, I saw two glowing eyes staring straight at me, set within the shadowed face of a mountain lion just 10 feet away. To this day, I still can't describe exactly what I felt in the moment or how my mind was able to process everything so quickly, but there was no time to question my actions, no time to ruminate over the consequences. As I stood there looking into the eyes of the beast, I felt a deep, primal, guttural growl rise from somewhere within me. The sound emanated from my throat and reverberated through the night with a power and a force that I never imagined could come from me. I always thought that I would be the type to freeze or to flee in this situation, and I'm not sure who was more surprised, me or the mountain lion. I could sense that it was sizing me up as it stared for a few seconds more, but then it turned its head and sauntered away through the brush. Most sane people in this circumstance would have turned right around and headed straight back to camp, but for some reason I felt compelled to complete my journey. I made it to the top of the mountain in time to see the sun rising above the horizon. As the bright colors of the morning blended with the dark tones of the fading night, I thought that I might experience some great revelation or even the slightest sensation of belonging, but instead, all I could wonder was, what have I done? I thought about all of the choices that had led me to this point, and then I considered the more daunting questions. Why am I here? What is my purpose? As I stood there at the pinnacle of this isolated wilderness, I wanted to feel nothing but inspiration and awe, but at the back of my mind were the self-deprecating questions. What's wrong with me? Why am I like this? Why do I shut myself off from the world of human connection? I stayed for a little while longer, watching the shadows of the distant peaks retreating from the light of the sun, and then I departed the summit feeling rather forlorn. I was unable to fully comprehend the significance of what I had been through until I made it to the spot where I had seen the mountain lion. I remembered that strange sound that had come from within, and then suddenly it dawned on me that maybe I'm braver than I give myself credit for. It took time, but I eventually began to wonder, what am I capable of? How can I change? When I look straight into the glowing eyes of loneliness and depression, can I summon that guttural growl and chase the feelings away? It's been 8 months since my encounter with the beast on the mountain, and in that time I've been through several moments of darkness and silence, but the important thing that I've learned is that the voice can be a powerful way to fight if you use it. I hope that someday I'll be able to use it in full force and that I might be able to tear down the walls of my comfort zone. But I think that for now, just being here, telling you this story is a step in the right direction.